The diner is open for business. And wait, we're releasing another episode? And you don't have to wait a week or two to hear it? That's right, we're going to do another one. But unfortunately, it is because we have had a week of deaths, it seems, especially two icons from the 1980s. Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan have died in the same week. That reminds me of the day when Farrah Fawcett and Michael Jackson died on the same day. This is just an insane week.
This has been pretty close to 2009. Not as bad, though, but I never expected Hulk Hogan to die right after I heard Ozzy Osbourne was dead.
Right, and we will get to Ozzy and we will get to Hulk, okay, though we will spend more time on them. There goes a saying, and they say, well, deaths usually come in threes. So as it turns out, somebody that was best known as being Theo from The Cosby Show, Malcolm Jamal Warner, died in a drowning accident.
Yeah. Just earlier this week, because it's about the end of the week as this is recording. Yeah, he was on vacation, Costa Rica, and he was just swimming at the beach, and a rip current happened, and he ended up drowning there, which is really tragic, especially since he was on vacation. Like, I've dealt with the rip current before too, swimming, but thankfully I'm able to float and swim and swim my way to shore. But it definitely is sad for some people like Malcolm. That was very unfortunate. And there's definitely some stuff, like there's definitely some awareness to how to save yourself in situations like that, thanks to Malcolm's death.
Which is good, right? And I've always known that if you do get caught in a rip current and you get swept out, you want to get parallel to where you don't feel the current pulling you out anymore, and then try to swim your way or float back to shore. But if you're not careful, like I actually was on the beach the day before I heard Malcolm Jamal Warner died. And yeah, you can feel the sand. It feels like the rug gets pulled out from under you if you're not careful with those currents. By the time you get out there, you're panicking or whatever. And then when you try to swim against the shore, you lose your energy. You get so freaking tired trying to get back. Or even if you manage to swim parallel, you still are out of energy. So it is a life or death situation. So it is tragic that this happened to him at 50 years old. That's still a young age. That's still too soon for somebody 54. To go.
Well, he was 54.
Okay, 54 years old.
55th birthday would have been next month.
Yeah,
but that is
which makes it really even sadder.
Yeah. So I mean, we loved Theo as the kid in the Cosby Show. Yeah, the show was more known for Bill Cosby because he was the star, but that show did have of characters that were memorable. And I think the one episode with Theo that comes to mind is when he's trying to tell Dad, hey, you just need to accept me for who I am. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And Cliff Huxtable, the character, is like, son, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You need to set goals for yourself, son. Like along that line. That's one episode I remember with him.
Yeah, and also, I think I might remember seeing the Cosby Show like when I was younger. It might have been on Nick at Night, but I just have faint memories of it.
Same. No, there was times when Cosby Show was on Nick at Night, and I think that's when a lot of people my age were seeing it when it was back on reruns.
Yeah, I actually vaguely remember that so many years ago.
Yeah, and speaking of speaking of the Cosby Show, some TV networks do still air it, but it's not for Bill Cosby, which obviously his legacy is kind of tarnished. It's more for definitely the other characters and basically the memories that people have liking the show and how great the show itself was, especially for Malcolm, the one who recently died.
Yeah, and people are still allowed to like that show. You can separate the art from the artist, if you will. If there's really nothing else to watch, or if they have the Cosby Show on in a hospital waiting room, okay, I'll watch it. But anyway, that's pretty much all we can say about Malcolm Jamal Warner. I mean, rest in power, buddy. Obviously, I don't think anybody had anything bad to say about him. I don't think the dude was ever involved with any scandals. So the next one, unfortunately, that happened right on the same day as Hulk Hogan. We find out that Chuck Mangione died. Pretty much everybody, I think, mostly knows about him just because of his appearances in King of the Hill, right?
Uh-huh. That's the only thing I've known of him for. I only found that out recently, and I watched King of the Hill. I just don't remember that episode, so I probably won't have much to say on Chuck Mangione other than just the King of the Hill episode that he was in.
That's technically the second King of the Hill cast member death.
Cameo though, like because this year earlier we had that one King of the Hill actor that got killed by a neighbor.
Okay, and again, Mangione was a respected musician. He released a lot of albums, but it wasn't my kind of music that I wanted to listen to. Okay, and he lived to be 84, so okay, died of natural causes. So he had a good career and he had a long life. So good for him. We have to mention him because people were like, "You didn't talk about Chuck Mangione." Here we are talking about him and saying what we can think about him.
Yep, and same week too that the others died.
There's really nothing much we can say about him. Again, not my kind of music. If you liked his music, if you liked the song "Feels So Good," fantastic. There's nothing to really hate about Chuck Mangione. All right, but now we got to go to the next one. Okay, it is the Prince of fucking Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, passed away.
And the crazy thing about this is he just had a farewell tour with Black Sabbath just this year. Couldn't have come at a better time.
I think Ozzy knew because of his Parkinson's that he was on his way out. He was no longer able to walk. Quality of life just wasn't happening for him anymore. So I think he wanted to go out with a bang, like in the way that Ozzy would want to go out. If you ever watch that performance, Ozzy is in a lot of pain. You can tell he wants to stand up and do what he usually does on stage, and it's breaking his heart that he couldn't do it. His voice still sounded okay. Again, he marketed it as this is the last time the original Black Sabbath lineup is going to perform. Listen to that concert. They clearly played like they haven't played together in many years, but that wasn't the point. The point was, here's the four of them. They're going to do they're going to do some more songs to celebrate Ozzy's career. I mean, this is a dude that could have faded off after he left Black Sabbath, but instead of having one major successful career, he had two, because then he resurrected himself and actually surpassed what he ended up doing with Black Sabbath with his solo career.
Yep, and one of the examples of songs I've heard during his solo career is "Crazy Train." That's a really great song, and I remember hearing that song a lot, not just on the radio, but also in movies. There's a lot of movies I've seen that featured that song.
Oh, you cannot escape "Crazy Train." You cannot escape "Bark at the Moon." My personal favorite Ozzy solo song would be "Diary of a Madman."
For me, I love "Mama, I'm Coming Home." I think it sounds great. And it's only recently that I discovered the song.
I definitely had to listen to that one in the car when once the news I found out about Ozzy's passing. I was like, nope, I got to hear that one. When it comes to heavy metal, there would be no heavy metal as we know it without Ozzy. You can say, oh, well, there was Zeppelin, there was Jimi Hendrix, there was all these guys in the 60s that brought it. Black Sabbath was the band that inspired the heavy metal artists. So without Black Sabbath, there would be no bands like Metallica that came later.
Definitely Ozzy Osbourne helped contribute a lot to the metal scene and also the edginess of that era.
Right. And then he was known to be a partier. He was known to be a drug abuser. He was just known for his wild and crazy persona and just living the gimmick practically until the day he died. I mean, that's another reason why he had his health issues, is because, he did more substances than anybody. It's amazing that he still lived as long as he did. I mean, eventually he did stop, but still, like, the damage that he did to his body with it. This is somebody that even as far back as 20 years ago, remember when the Osbourne show came out, when that reality show was a hit, anytime Ozzy Osbourne spoke, you couldn't understand him.
That's crazy. I was going to ask you about that show.
Well, and I actually looked up. It's because I'm thinking, wait a minute, this guy, you can't understand a word he says when he speaks, but when he sings, he sounds just as good as he did in the 80s, almost. And as it turns out, it's just different functions of the brain that allow you to do that. And also just muscle memory, of course.
Speaking of Ozzy Osbourne, have you guys heard that now that his death happened, they're actually thinking about renaming an airport in his home country, the UK, after Ozzy Osbourne International Airport. Have you guys heard of this?
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's actually a petition and people have signed it to actually rename from his hometown, like an international airport to Ozzy Osbourne International Airport.
Well, again, I wouldn't be complaining about that, but you know who would be complaining about that? Every evangelical Christian on the planet.
Yeah, they probably would disrespect Ozzy's death, saying, "Oh, well, he did drugs. So did other musicians."
Well, so here's a little funny thing that happened, and again, this is just the kind of the people that sometimes I have to deal with. Is when as I put on Facebook, it's an end of an era. Without Ozzy, there's no bands like Metallica. And yeah, you got the people that are like, oh yeah, how sad. But I had this one commenter from somebody I know at church is like, well, I gave up that satanic music a long time ago. I only listen to Christian music now. I'm like, okay, whatever.
It's like it's just a song. It's just an artist and a persona. You can still listen to their music even if you don't agree with their lifestyle. Correct?
Right. Not only that, Ozzy was something. He said that he was a member of the Church of England. He is somebody that later in his life did believe in a higher power. Like there was a clip that he says, well, I don't think there's a sky god up there in the clouds jerking off above the earth. He was joking when he said that, but he wasn't necessarily saying he didn't believe in God. He was just saying that my idea of God is not the sky god in the clouds.
Yeah, and some people take their people's views like way too far, whether they be like joking or not.
Right.
And I was going to say that God is much bigger than the sky and all that.
Yeah.
Heck, much bigger than space and much bigger than the universe.
Exactly. It's not a local God. It is the God of the universe, not just God of the earth. But people throughout his career, they constantly accuse this guy of being a Satanist just because of the name Black Sabbath, just because of the sound. And the Sabbath tried for so long to be like, we're not a bunch of Satanists.
Also because he did metal music.
Right. And I'm a Christian, but I'm also a very much a metalhead aficionado. What I listen to does not affect my faith. It's completely different.
It's just for your enjoyment.
And I could tell definitely for you, the death of Ozzy Osbourne had a big impact.
Right. It doesn't have an impact on me, but at the same time, it's like, dude, it's an end of an era. A lot of our heavy metal icons have either passed or they're going to pass. So Ozzy has now joined Lemmy from Motorhead. He's joined Ronnie James Dio. There's many of them that have passed on, so he's joined them. And the guys in Metallica, they're in their 60s. They're 16 years younger than Ozzy right now. So it's only a matter of time before they retire or they have to pass on. And I'll be sad when that happens.
Definitely the metal artists aren't getting old. They were around in the 70s and 80s and even the 90s.
Unfortunately, heavy metal artists, most of them are getting old. There's not really very many young heavy metal bands that are as big as Metallica and Iron Maiden now. And I really hope that in the next few years, bands that are even younger than Avenged Sevenfold can become big and get the next generation into heavy music. Otherwise, we're just going to be seen as dad rock in the next 10 years. And we already are.
Yeah, definitely Metallica is way past their prime, obviously, nowadays.
Who's going to be, who are we going to pass the baton to? How are we going to have the next generation? Because it's so hard to crop them up and prop them up nowadays.
It's a day and age when there's so many people that are like, oh, I like everything. I'm hardcore like Metallica, but then I want to listen to Big Green Tractor by Jason Aldean.
Yeah, definitely we do need the new generation that's inspired by Black Sabbath and Metallica, especially of my generation and younger in the future.
We do. If you want heavy metal to continue, we need more younger metal musicians and we need them to be pushed. I'm completely fine with it. And I get that there's a lot of people like, well, no, they're not old metal bands. They're not that's not the point. The bands from the 70s and 80s they're gonna go. Iron Maiden is gonna retire one day. In fact, Nickel McBrain, the drummer for Iron Maiden, already retired. They're going to go very soon.
Yeah, and obviously modern artists are going to be inspired by the ones they've listened to beforehand, the artists they've known from before.
Right. there is a new generation of younger fans because they've heard Metallica's Master of Puppets on Stranger Things. We need more of that stuff to happen. And Metallica embraced it, but we need the metal fans to embrace things like that instead of saying, well, you weren't there at the Whiskey A Go-Go in 1984.
The thing is that, one person did tell me that because times have been so hard in the last few years, hard rock, heavy metal, hardcore hip hop, and outlaw country are going to be taking over music. And you can add, the light rock or just soft music in general as well, because, adult contemporary radio stations are actually doing really, really well lately too. But, and yet we haven't really seen, a lot or enough bands and rock artists and metal artists in general, propping up. I guess we're going to have to find them and support them. But still.
Absolutely.
I would like to add on your point about the radio, especially rock stations. I can tell rock stations are definitely gonna still play Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, and the others, because that's one good way I still listen to those songs exactly.
They're good gateway stations, but you got to find the bands that are 10 years younger, or they're younger than 10 years old, and you have to find a way to support them. So that's really all we can really say about the death of Ozzy Osbourne. He was the icon. He went out the exact way he should have gone out. It was a sad day for heavy metal, but his music is going to live on. People are still going to discover it and enjoy it. And I do believe that he's going to be inspiring more new people to get into that world. But who knew that after Ozzy Osbourne died, the first thing he did as a ghost was kill Hulk Hogan?
Yeah,
but yes, Hulk Hogan died, but it wasn't because of Ozzy's ghost.
I never thought he'd be having health problems. He seemed to be in really good shape.
He was always working out. He was taking care of himself as good as he did. But the thing is, he had 25 surgeries in 10 years.
For what?
Oh, hip things in his bones, hips, all that stuff. Again, just years worth of bumping his body on the ground, bumping his body on the ring. People don't realize that pro wrestlers, that type of life, that type of athletic stuff, yes, it's predetermined, but the bumps are real.
Yeah, and wrestling's full of a lot of danger. Just take a look at the documentaries and interviews with people who've been in the WWE and the WCW and the others. They've gone through like a lot of stuff just doing wrestling, for example.
And many people like today, Mick Foley may be doing fine, but he lives in pain for the rest of his life. So he has to do all these things just so he can function. And Hulk Hogan, he wrestled far longer than he should have. There was a point in his life when he should not have been wrestling anymore, so no more leg drops, no more doing any bumps, but he did it far longer than he should, and it was mainly because he had to get money, because his ex-wife divorced him and took all of his money.
Jeez.
Yeah, not to mention WWE, the way it is, wouldn't be anything without Hulk Hogan. He's just one of the reasons WWE is what it is.
Absolutely.
He's one of the most famous wrestlers of all time, and so that's another reason why him coming back, even if it was just occasionally and sporadically, made sense.
Well, that was the other thing. It was always okay for him to come back in a non-wrestling role, just to come back as a guest or a speaker or whatever. He's going to do his promo. What you going to do, brother? But I'm talking 10 to 15 years ago, he just did way too many leg drops to his body. So to the point where, and again, you also know that he took steroids in his day too. So he did a lot to his body over the years.
And if we could switch gears about Hulk Hogan, obviously Obviously, there are some things he's done outside of wrestling that we don't really agree with, especially like a decade ago when he was called out for a lot of the racist things he did. And I know you guys would agree. We do not endorse a lot of the stuff he's done. And of course, he has apologized for that. We don't know. He might have changed since then, but we don't know. But people are disrespecting Hulk Hogan's death because Hulk Hogan said racist stuff and this and that. But yeah, but for me, from how I remember him, it's really not going to take away from his legacy as a wrestler and as an icon that he's known as.
And also, if I can point this out, you got a lot of whacked out leftists celebrating his death and all that. I mean, yeah, I can understand about him being a right wing douche and all that, but do people really need to do that?
Yeah, they're going after him and disrespecting him just because he supported Donald Trump last year in the election.
Oh, they're pissed off because Hulk Hogan appeared at that Republican National Convention and did his promo, and then right after that, Joe Biden quit. It was just
who knew if Biden really quit because of Hulk Hogan?
That's just it's just funny like that.
There are people I know that support, the Democrats, like there'll be people that support Biden or Harris, just like how people support Trump. But am I going to disrespect them just because they supported someone I don't like? Like, no, that's a stupid reason.
The thing is, yes, Hulk Hogan did apologize, but the way he did apologize was kind of in a way of, well, you got to watch what you say, brother. People are always recording. It was almost, it almost came off to some people as, oh, he almost like it wasn't remorseful at that point.
Like he wasn't serious or anything.
Right. So, and again, he eventually did make appearances again back in WWE. His most recent appearance was on the very first Monday Night Raw of Netflix in early 2025. And believe it or not, this was an unannounced appearance. People had no idea he was going to be there. And the people in that crowd booed him out of the building. And when that happened, people were like, oh, they were booing him because he's a Trump supporter and it was LA. But the thing is, The Undertaker appeared on the same show. Nobody was booing him, even though The Undertaker is also a Trump supporter. So the reason why they were booing him was because at this point, many people were just so fed up with Hulk Hogan, not because of the racist stuff in the past, although that was part of it. It's because in so many recent years, he's been lying from his ass about his career, about other people's career, about his life, that he's been saying so many things that are easily debunkable and easily proven false. Like one of the famous ones was when he said that he tried out for Metallica after Cliff Burton died, which is like, no, that's not possible because he was world champion in the WWF at the time. So that he was bigger than Metallica when Cliff Burton died. So there's no way he tried out for them.
And what was the other one? He lied about wrestling in 400 days in a year.
That's right. He said, "Oh, I wrestled 400 days in a year, brother," because he said it was possible because he would go back and forth to wrestling in Japan and then wrestling back in the United States, because he said, "Oh, though, just the way the international date line works, brother," but failing to really understand that when you cross the international date line going the other way, you gain the day back.
Yeah, he probably got that a bit confused. Like you said, Hulk Hogan did come back to the WWE after that racism scandal. He did come back into the WWE Hall of Fame. They did reinstate him back, and also Ozzy Osbourne, who also died. He's also in the WWE Hall of Fame, but not a wrestler, probably as a guest.
He was in the celebrity wing. He did an appearance famously at WrestleMania 2. And then he also did some guest appearances later on. So yeah, Ozzy has some WWE history, so there's some connection there.
Sounds like he went quite insane in recent years.
It did, but you can look up on YouTube, and there's many wrestling podcasts. One of my favorite is Jim Cornette, where they read off every single one of Hulk Hogan's lies over the years and talk about how it was false. That's what a lot of wrestling fans got sick of. It's just like, okay, Hogan, go away. You're not there anymore. And yeah, of course, because of the name Immortal Hulk Hogan, people are thinking, oh, he's going to stick around forever. But I remember hearing about that. Oh, he's not doing well. He's no longer able to speak. He's on his way out. And then sure enough, 2 days after Ozzy Osbourne died, then we get the Hulk Hogan news.
Yeah, it was. I hear about now after his death that Hulk Hogan did have health problems, and I think another reason why people booed him in his last appearance, I think people just want Hulk Hogan to retire because, like you said, people were sick of him.
They just were tired of his lies. They were tired of Terry Bollea, the person. And I remember having a conversation with somebody on Facebook. This guy was saying, no, Hulk Hogan didn't do anything for sport and for wrestling. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Yes, he did. But he was also saying that because he wanted to bash him for being a Trump supporter. So I'm like, okay, no, pro wrestling wouldn't be what it is without him back in the 80s. And then this other person comes in and she's like, pro wrestling being big in the 80s was a terrible thing. It was a cesspool of misogyny and other abuses. They should have never been famous. And this was toxic culture. And this loneliness epidemic. It was because of the toxic patrarchy. I mean, you could read this message. It is on the Discord server. Like, what the fuck is this woman on about?
Again, it's just I've seen so many people just disrespect Hulk Hogan, especially just like you said, not just because of the reasons I mentioned.
Hulk Hogan, the persona, Hulk Hogan, the character that told kids to train and eat your vitamins and believe in yourself and say your prayers. The character that inspired a lot of kids to get into wrestling or just inspired kids in general was awesome. Terry Bollea, the human being, was not a good human being. That's something that's easily undisputable.
Yeah, that's just a person who did those actions that we obviously call them out before people here watching this right now start talking about it.
So there we go. So anything else you guys want to say in closing?
Nope.
All I gotta say is rest in peace to Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne, and Hulk Hogan.
And Chuck Mangione as well. So you're going to get that one person again. You didn't include Chuck. You're a horrible person. You didn't include Chuck.
Again, piece of Chuck Mangione too, but I don't know. I didn't know that much about that person. I only just.
Neither did I. I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah, I know.
And of course, Hulk Hogan was 71.
Either way, his legacy will live on. You're going to get a lot of people that, again, you don't know pro wrestling, but you know who Hulk Hogan is. It's the same way that if you don't know basketball, you know Michael Jordan or you know LeBron James. If you didn't know hockey, you knew Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, like that's how well known Hulk Hogan was. Even if I wasn't around when Hulk Hogan was in his prime, I know who he is.
So he was wrestling. So if you're gonna say, "Oh, it's toxic masculinity," you're a horrible person. Shut the fuck up, bitch.
I'll put it this way: the same women that love to preach about toxic masculinity are the same ones that love to be in an abusive relationship with either Chris Brown or Drake.
Yeah, they love the bad guys.
So that's all we got to say about that, guys. So thanks so much for listening, folks. If you'd like to talk to any of us directly, the links to the Discord server will be below. Stay tuned for the next one. Hopefully we'll have a world to live in by the next time the episode gets released. So I'm Desert Cow at 22. Thanks for listening. Say goodbye, guys.
I'm out.
See ya and good night.